The Joe Rogan Experience.
I don't know too much about the actual. Is there a difference between the way different alcohol affects you? Does the wine alcohol actually affect you by volume, by the actual percentage of alcohol? Does it affect you differently than beer or differently than whiskey or differently than tequila? Because that's what people always say. Oh, if I drink tequila, I get crazy. Like, people always have these stories. But is that true? If you had a certain percentage of alcohol,
if we equalize the alcohol concentration, is it all the same in the end?
Yes, because for me, wine makes me warm and friendly, and it makes me sleepy, and it doesn't make me energetic. Whiskey makes me crazy. Yeah. Like, I think it's a crazy drug. I think when people drink shots of Jack Daniels, they just want to go, whoa! They want to get crazy. They want to do dumb shit. It makes them want to do dumb things. Shots, in particular, makes people want to do dumb things. Makes people get crazy. Makes people loud. It makes people Irish. Right?
Yes. Yeah, it's better you saying
this
than me.
Quarter Irish. I can get away with it for a little while.
Only a quarter?
That's it. Yeah, mostly Italian.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
You're at the cusp of these two drinking traditions.
Yes.
Oh, I see. But Rogan, you're fooling us. You're fooling us with Rogan, though.
Yes. Yeah, it's an Irish
because we would
name.
think that you were majority Irish with that.
Yes. Yeah, and I could be dark Irish if you looked at me.
If you were.
Yeah.
I'm reserved English and Jamaican. Jamaicans not big drinkers in the same kind of the difference, actually, fascinatingly, of the many weird alcohol facts. If you look at young people, let's look at college age young people in America and look at their drinking habits. The black students drink and get drunk markedly less than white kids. Real differences in drinking behavior by race at that age. Asian students don't drink much either. Drinking is like a white thing. It's like a crazy white thing, increasingly, or problematic drinking. I've always thought that was fascinating.
It is fascinating.
I don't know why that's so.
It's revered in our culture more. Maybe. It's getting fucked up is celebrated in white culture. Well,
this, in the alcohol chapter of my book, I talk about all the strange things that have happened with drinking patterns on campus. And I was struck in doing that chapter. I was interested in the connection between drinking and drunkenness and sexual assault on campus. Because all of those, the overwhelming majority, if you talk to people who study sexual assault on campus, they will tell you that you almost never see one of these cases where both parties aren't drunk, right? It's which doesn't explain them entirely, but it's a huge factor in making sense of what happens. And when you dig into that, you see these really weird patterns. First off, when I was in college, I did not know, and I went to college in Canada, not a teetotaling population. I did not know a single person who had ever been blackout drunk. And then now, if you talk to a 20-year-old college student in America, they will name friends of theirs who get blackout drunk on a weekly basis.
What is the drinking age in Canada, and what was it when you were in college?
When I was in college, it was 18.
Yeah, I think that might be a big factor. I've been talking to friends about this, about Europe, about how in Europe, particularly in Italy and France, you're allowed to drink wine at a very young age.
Yeah.
And the taboo aspect of it, the forbidden fruit, all that goes away. Mm-hmm. I don't think young kids should be drinking because I think it's terrible for your brain development. But I think there's a thing in keeping them from drinking or making it illegal where it becomes so taboo and so intoxicating that they can't wait until they can legally do it, or they try to get a hold of it before it's legal, and it has a certain excitement to it that just doesn't have in parts of Europe.
Yeah, you've given it a kind of so there's all kinds of the things that are new are way less beer and way more hard liquor. So hard liquor, when I was in school in Canada in the 80s, 95% of what we drank was beer. It's just not. There wasn't any whiskey or even or tequila or a vodka at our parties. It's just beer.
Beer, keg parties.
Yeah, really hard to get blackout drunk on beer. I mean, blackout. To get to blackout, you got to get to like, I forgot what the exact number is.
10 drinks or something?
Well, you got to blow like 0.18 or something. I've forgotten what there's a sort of magic number where people.
Is that for everybody? Because some people, they just get gerbil eyes. Like there's some dudes, they'll have a couple of drinks and they get shark eyes. You know, those dark, like expressionless eyes. Like, hey man, you still here?
Yeah.
Like they're just wandering around like a person with doll eyes. There's nothing there.
Well, the issue with blackout is just at what point does your hippocampus shut down and you cease to have the ability to make memories? So that's a very narrow clinical explanation of. So there may be a whole different set of manifestations of drunkenness that have to do with alcohol's effect on other parts of your brain.
Right.
But blackout is just about your hippocampus. And past a certain blood alcohol concentration, your hippocampus just goes offline. Essentially, you just pull the plug on the hippocampus. And then, so nothing that's coming in is being stored.
Wow.
So you can continue to communicate. I could be blackout drunk right now.
But does it vary with people? Does it? I mean, the number.
Well, so yes, it would.
Alcohol.
It would vary depending, I think, on drinking history and.
Yeah.
But I mean, there's a kind of there's a consensus figure where most people. I wish it's in my book. But I wish I could remember. I think it's something like 0.16 or something like that. If you think of the legal level for drinking for driving is 0.08. I think it's roughly 2x that level. And most people at that level will be at risk, will have at least the beginnings of memory impairment. So that feeling when you get really drunk at a party and the next morning you can only remember little bits and pieces of what happened that night, that's because your hippocampus was at your moment of peak intoxication, your hippocampus was starting to shut down. It just wasn't taking in new memories.
It's really interesting, too, because some of our most interesting minds and some of the best communicators relied on alcohol heavily. And it made that, like Hitchens, it made him a more interesting communicator when he was drunk, when he would have a drink. You know, I mean, right? Like he would be on Bill Maher, you could tell he was lit. Yeah. And he was so eloquent and so articulate.
But that
beautiful phrasing.
So remember, though, this is an interesting point and a crucial point about blackout, which is your hippocampus doesn't necessarily control your how articulate you are or how fluid your speech is. It's just about memory. So Hitchens could have been the most articulate person in the world, but the next morning he would not have remembered a single thing he said on Bill Maher. I mean, I'm assuming if he was drunk to the point.
I don't think he was blackout.
No, he wasn't blackout.
No,
but you don't know. There's fascinating stories in the literature about when people were discovering blackout in the 50s, and there would be these stories like some guy would come in, he would wake up in Las Vegas, and he would say, "What am I doing in Las Vegas?" And then he would go and he would see his clothes hanging in the closet, and he would say, "What's going on?" And then he would go down to the desk and say, "What?" And they say, "Oh, you checked in last night." And he would look in his wallet and he would see he had a plane ticket from Cleveland, and they would reconstruct. And in fact, this very story was told in one of the big medical journals in the 50s. The guy reconstructs. He's a salesman living in St. Louis who gets really, really drunk. And then his hippocampus shuts down, and he continues to function. So he gets in his car, drives to the airport, buys a plane ticket, goes to Vegas, he doesn't know what he does in Vegas, does whatever he does in Vegas, and then wakes up 2 days later.
Oh, my God.
And his hippocampus is suddenly back online. And he's like, what am I doing in Vegas? That is
2 days.
2 days. So
Oh,
the point
my
is
God.
that you can, so that was my point. I could be blackout right now.
And still communicate.
You wouldn't know it. It's not like you can tell. I can't tell whether you have a headache, can I?
Right.
No clue. So you don't know what's going, until we come up with that machine that you were talking about, you can't tell that my hippocampus isn't working. Except if you ask me the same question, this is the only way you can do it. You're at a party, you think someone's blackout, ask them the same question over and over again and see if they respond. Say, why are you asking me? So literally, I would say, wait, did you say you're a quarter Irish? And then I would just have to wait, say 5 seconds, and say, Joe, did you say you were a quarter Irish? And at a certain point, you're going to say, Malcolm, why? Stop it. If you don't say that, you're blackout drunk.
But could you be blackout drunk and still have like a tiny memory?
No.
You just asked me that.
So the hippocampus doesn't shut down all at once. So what it does is it shuts down slowly. So let's imagine we're both doing shots. So after, I'm quite sure your capacity, you're like, I'm half your weight. Am I? But I don't know what you are. You're like
200 pounds.
I'm 126. Okay.
Yeah.
So we're going to deal with alcohol very differently. But let's assume we're doing shots of tequila. There's a point at where things start to get hazy. So you might remember that I asked you that question, or you might not. And then as we keep drinking and our blood alcohol levels get higher and higher, at a certain point, your hippocampus will completely, like the off switch has been thrown. So it goes from being sluggish and impaired to just being down.
And what brings it back?
Your blood alcohol level has to fall to the point where it can work again. So you fall asleep, and over the course of 8 hours of sleep, your alcohol is processed by your liver, blood alcohol falls, hippocampus snaps back into action.
Wow. What a ridiculous drug to be our most socially acceptable drug.
Yeah, totally.
And then the Vegas thing, where they give it to you for free,
of course, yeah,
in a place where you can gamble, which is really sneaky.
Yeah.
That's one of the weirder laws ever, that a person could literally lose their house while they're blackout drunk.